live on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. It's time for Middays with Q. Now to your host, Rich Quinones.
Good afternoon, everyone. 12 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. Indeed, a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game studios. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, Angel Martinez, mi hermano. Behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air. 2 hours to play with. We'll take you right up to 2 o'clock straight up on the 17th of July, 2024. As always, don't forget the 727-858-6650. We are indeed powered by our good friends over at IONTB, as I make a little adjustment there. And of course, we're coming at you courtesy and exclusively on Coastal Sports Network, also via the YouTube channel Broad Street South, Rich Q on Q. Busy show, Corey Parson around 12:35-ish. A second half look at the baseball season. If you guys followed along last night, listen, the All-Star game, it's not where it used to be. AL All-Stars beating the National League All-Stars, AL over the National League 5-3. But interesting enough, if you did watch the game last night and you had an opportunity to watch our guy, Shohei Ohtani, right? So, it's a player that Steve Gardner and I mentioned yesterday. It just shows you the greatness that is. You get an opportunity to see some of these great players, and it's always fun to watch. And as I mentioned, it's not the same as it used to be. But with all that being said, you'll get the break today, the break tomorrow. And then as we turn around, second half of the season starts on Friday. And I do believe there's some storylines. I do believe the AL East is going to be an extremely competitive division between Baltimore and the Yankees. Cleveland and Minnesota, you got some storylines in the AL Central. The Mariners, upstart team, certainly don't want to give up anything to the Houston Astros. Then we look over the NL East, and the Braves have been dealt with the injury bug again, i.e. Acuna. Philadelphia Phillies trying to run away with it. I think really what we'll see there is perhaps if they get 15, 16, 7-game winner, maybe Nola Wheeler in that NL Cy Young award conversation. You got the Central, St. Louis fading a little bit, and then you have the West. And look, the Dodgers are just clearly the best team. I believe the Dodgers are going to start to run away with it. And then as far as the outside, right, of these teams looking in, the bad teams, i.e. your Colorados, your Miami Marlins, the Cubs, I think, as Steve alluded to, will be will be sellers. And then certainly Chicago White Sox heading towards a 100-loss campaign. But there are a lot of good storylines. I think there's a lot of great baseball to still be played. Obviously, in the Florida market, Tampa and Florida, both those teams, the Marlins and the Rays, struggling mightily. Tampa had that great start last season. Remember, they came out of the gate, first month and a half of the season, their team ERA was like 1.31. Obviously, it's been a different story this year, and we know quite well what's going on with the Marlins. So we'll mix in a little baseball. The NFL talk, and we'll dive into this a little more in the 1 o'clock hour. The NFL, the hard knocks, right? Everyone knows, obviously, native New Yorker, born in New York, diehard Giants fan, but you have to call it the way it is. And I'm watching these hard knocks episodes, and oh my God, can we just friggin' let it go already with Saquon Barkley? Seriously. I don't care. I get it. You got 45 minutes. You're trying to get as much as possible. They want to showcase what they can. I do not care. Why are we acting? Why does some giant media, why does some giant fan base, why do you guys act like this guy was going to waltz into the Hall of Fame? Not even remotely close. He's an injury-prone, overhyped, okay, and at times overrated running back. Yeah, I said it. And don't get me wrong. Do I think Saquon Barkley is a great player? Absolutely, when healthy. But let's not act like Saquon Barkley is the next coming of Jim Brown, of Earl Campbell. Saquon Barkley has had 3 very good seasons in his career, and 2 of them came his first year or 2. Then he was hurt. Then he was hurt. Then he came back, and then he got hurt again last year. So, let's not, whether it's a million here, a million there, just relax. Relax. They're not going to be a good football team. They're just not. And remember, they allow you to see what they want you to see, right? And then you get the agent that's kind of hemming and hawing. And now everyone's going to sit there and say, did the Giants look bad to losing Saquon Barkley? You know, the only reason that, and by the way, the other thing that no one's bringing up, and I mentioned this right after the signing, no one brought this up. If you watch this show, it does create the impression that someone was tampering with Saquon Barkley. If you go back, the show opens with Joe Shane. He's taking a call from Barkley's agent. I think it's Ed Berry. Check and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is Ed Berry. And based on the rest of the episode, you know, you get that call before the weekend, the opening of the negotiation window. I think it was in early March. And then the conversation turns into Shane acknowledging that Berry was going to see what else they can, quote, get out of them, right? And that's kind of the whole point, if you will. You go out, you find out, you get back to me, blah, 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 blah. And they apparently informed Joe Shane that 12 and a half million per year, 25 guaranteed. And it's clear that the Giants, if the Giants offer that, Barkley will take it. That being said, it's really unclear which team that number came from. Because if you fast forward later in the episode, you know, you're talking about the Bears are kind of driving up the price, the Eagles are not. So maybe it was the Bears, maybe it was the Eagles, maybe it was someone else. Again, you know, it's just, this is what happens when you get the cameras in there. But the bottom line is this. The only reason that Giant fans are obsessed with the fact that Saquon Barkley is no longer a New York Football Giant has nothing to do with Saquon Barkley. But it has everything to do with the fact that Saquon Barkley signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's the reality. Look, I'm not sitting here saying he's not a great offensive cog. Do I think Saquon Barkley's overrated? To some extent, I do. Do I think he's overhyped? To some extent, I do. Do I still believe he's a great running back when healthy? Yes, both can be true. But the only reason Giant fans are so ticked off is because Saquon Barkley went down 95 and signed with the bitter rival, Philadelphia Eagles. That's it. That's it. We're not even having these conversations. I'm over it. But the reason I bring it up is because I don't know this love fest, this love affair, right? With a player that's been good when he's on the field, but that's always been the issue. The availability, the accessibility, being healthy. If this was Carolina, who cares? If this was Chicago Bears, who cares? And no disrespect, if he went down to Jacksonville or Miami or Tampa, who cares? People care because it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Giant fans, Eagles fans, can't stand each other. Giants and Eagles, bitter rivalry. Giants have actually just been exposed, just dog walked over the last 15 years against the Philadelphia Eagles. Any other team, nobody cares. No one cares. But it's amazing how we put these athletes on such the highest of pedestal, right? And then you have to think of this realistically. This team is not a playoff team. It's not. So why are we acting? We want to treat this team like it's a playoff team. It's not a playoff team. Not at all. They're not a good football team at all. But we want to act as though they're a good football team. We want to sit there and say the moves that they're making equate to a good football team. And quite frankly, I don't believe it. I'm not seeing it. That's just me. Now, you guys can tell me different. 727-858-6650. But again, I don't believe for one moment that this is going to be a playoff team. I believe they're going to struggle mightily. Even if they had Saquon Barkley, I think they're going to have issues. We already documented, we've highlighted, we talked about the NFC East. It will be a compelling division this year. I think the Washington Commanders might sneak up on some teams this year. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that this is going to be a 10-win team. I don't. I think they have a very interesting start to the season where if they can get through Tampa to open up, then they have the Giants, Cincinnati, Arizona. Maybe they're 2-2. There's a little glimmer of hope. But this notion that, you're being outbidded, outpriced, it happens all the time in the NFL. It happens all the time. It's just fans get a little more salty and a little more testy because the last thing they want is a player they've really admired or a player that they've really have grown with and come to appreciate and follow it. All of a sudden, he goes right down the turnpike or he goes right, to the next door neighbors, to the bitter rival, and we get ticked off. We get ticked off. We don't like it, but that's the nature of the NFL. And I would never, there's this now, don't lump me in with some of these goofballs. You never wish injury for a player. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. I'm curious to see how the Philadelphia Eagles and that offense are going to use Saquon Barkley. Because let's be honest, they underutilize DeAndre Swift. Right? Did they not underutilize DeAndre Swift? I mean, they've had some good running backs in the past. Sanders took the money and went to Carolina. But point being is you have to be able to utilize these guys the right way. So just a couple thoughts right there on Hard Knocks, the NFL. We'll get into it a little more with Corey Parsons. And I still love, even yesterday's conversation, right? People are getting on me. Make up your mind. Does Bronny James stink? Is he good or is he bad? Or right now he stinks. He stinks, period. And I want to read off some comments we got kind of to piggyback from yesterday's show, but we'll dive into a little NBA as well. I definitely want to take a look at some of these NFL futures, and as I alluded to, the second half of the baseball season. Later on in the week and next week, we're going to start diving into a little college football. You got to love when, the talking heads walk back the comments, so to speak, right? And I think Paul Feinbaum started to walk back some of his comments, even though yesterday, I believe in the 1 o'clock hour, I mentioned to you that, hey, listen, you can be half right with a couple things, right? You can be half right with a couple things. So we got a lot of stuff to dive into on the table. MLB, we'll sprinkle in a little NBA, definitely get into the NFL, because I also have, and I want to get your thoughts out there as well. I think these are kind of under the radar questions that we're hoping to get answered. We haven't really asked, so to speak, heading into the 2024 season, but I certainly want to get your feel on that as well. So we'll probably sprinkle that in sometime in the 1 p.m. hour. So as always, keep it locked in. We're just cranking up 727-858-6650, a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. We are powered by IONTB. Quickie timeout. We'll come back on the other side. Don't forget, 35 past 12 o'clock hour. Fantasy exec Corey Parson joins us on the show.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
IONTB is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, IONTB.com. IONTB keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by IONTB. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
All right, 17 past the 12 o'clock hour. Keep us locked in right here on a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. I got to keep positioning myself here. I got 2 cups of coffee, cup of tea. Got the shake over there. So we got a lot of stuff going on. 727-858-6650. So as I mentioned, second half of the MLB All-Star Game. We've got storylines. My guy B. Brian chimes in. Q. Anyone else love the national anthem from the Home Run Derby? I read the story that I guess the girl is going into rehab. I mean, look, again, I don't make light of that. I just, you're drunk doing the national anthem. Really? What are we doing here? I mean, if that's the case, don't even show up. Is that an excuse now? I mean, she checks into rehab after drunk national anthem performance. That was pretty embarrassing. That's why I'm saying, you know what? Don't even do a live anymore. Just lip sync it, or just air it, just play it. Too much nonsense. I mean, you have to have a real lack of respect for the country. Okay. If you're going to show up and supposedly sing the national anthem, okay? The national anthem, we're going to sit you on center stage in front of millions, right? Baseball, right? America's game, America's sport. In front of children, you're trying to get these generational fans, major leaguers, right? Eyeballs, TVs, potential advertisers, great marketing opportunity, branding opportunity. And then your jackass ass shows up friggin' drunk. Like, seriously? And now all of a sudden, because you were drunk, hey, checking yourself into rehab? Here's an idea. How about somebody vet this country singer before she goes on? Or if she's had a couple pops, don't allow her. I'm so tired. It's all the excuses. I was drunk, so now I'm checking myself into rehab. Get the frig out of here. You know what? Good. Go dry out. Seriously, dry out. Get yourself better. I'm so tired of there's always a friggin' excuse for stuff. There's always, you thought it was going to be cute to just tie one on and then go out there and sing the national anthem, and you embarrass yourself. And you know what? I hope you get help. Go get help. Get help. But the lack of respect you showed for yourself, the fans, the sport, and the country, and the national anthem, it's a friggin' disgrace. It's a friggin' disgrace. And unfortunately, we've had too much of that kind of nonsense going on for a long time now. I mean, it even goes back to, and without totally going off on the tangent, this even goes back to, listen, if you don't like the country, or you don't want to have respect for the country, get the frick out. Sorry. I mean, even with the sporting event, with some of these athletes, right? I mean, I went through the whole thing with the kneeling and the Kaepernick, and to this day, I still have people that tune into me, whether it was right outside Jersey or when I was in Delaware, and we were talking about these things. And more or less, it was right outside the short points when I was middays with Q on another station, 12 to 2. Um, blackballed, blackballed. He's blackballed. Get out of here. The guy stinks. He can't play anymore. We want to take easy way outs and have excuses for everything. Incredible Shrinking Hermano. What's going on? How
Listen, I probably would have never been more honored to share the airwaves with you with what you just said, because it drives me bananas between the excuses, between the he said, she said nonsense, this, that, and the other. I talked about it earlier today. It's about choices, right? You get up in the morning, you make the choices you want to make. Good, bad, or indifferent. Doesn't matter. Then, by the way, did you see her, somewhat kind of like apology that she had posted?
I to be honest, once I started listening, I thought it was an embarrassment, and then I knew something was wrong, and I was like, I don't have time for this nonsense. It just, after a while, everyone apologizes when they're embarrassed or they get caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and I'm tired of it. Get your shit together, be professional, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, go out there and sing with friggin' pride.
Yep. Nope.
Don't tie one on and then blame it on the alcohol and then boom, here you go. Oh, I'm going to check myself in the rehab. Maybe you do have a problem. I don't know this person from Adam. Never met her. I hope you do get some help. But why? Because you sang like a jackass because you were drunk during the national anthem and you had no choice but to come out. How many times? That's the other thing. I'm such a friggin' cynic with certain things. Part of me is like, yeah, you're only saying that because of the backlash.
Right. Yep. No, you're right. And then the other thing and you hit it right on point. I know Brian made another comment here, but it's the same way. If you hate this country so much, let's go somewhere else. Let me know how it works out for you, because you guys will not have the same fortunes and abilities that you have here that we do in America. You hate it so much, leave.
I just think it's hypocrisy. I think it's a sign of disrespect. Like, listen, you have freedom of expression. You have the right to say what you want to say, freedom of speech, all of that, right? We say what we say, but you also have to be held, even if it's just the most insane take in the world, sports related or not, political related or not, rant related or not, you have to be held accountable for what comes out of your mouth. You got to be held accountable for your actions. And I just feel as though sometimes, we're spitting in the wind, and that's the problem. It's like, okay, you want to play in these leagues, right? And you're gifted enough to play in these leagues. Respect the league, respect the fan base. I get it. Fans are jerks sometimes, but fans are also going to the games. They're buying liquor, they're doing parking, they're buying merchandise, they're supporting you, they're buying dish, they're buying direct, they're buying tickets, they're following you all over the truck, they're making road trips, they're spending their money to support you. Don't spit back in their face. Don't do a disservice, right? I mean, don't do a disservice. And it's still, to this day, it does bother me. It does bother me because I see it sometimes when I've called the fights. I've seen fighters turn around and shield their back if we have a flag in the anthem in the venue. Now, I will say this, full disclosure. How everyone says remove hats and stand? I have my headset on, I have my notes, and I'm kind of in my own little world. And once in a while, I will get up. I don't not get up for lack of respect. It's because I have the monitor here, my Comrex here, my headset here, if that kind of makes sense, getting ready to go on the air. Because once the anthem's done, back to us, then we throw it to the ring announcer. But when the opportunity presents itself, standing and alert and showing respect, it rubs me the wrong way, because without those freedoms, so to speak, without those opportunities, well, they don't have those opportunities. And again, people might sit there and say, come on, give it a rest. Enough is enough, right? We don't want to hear it anymore. Well, guess what? I don't want to see it anymore, right? I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to hear it anymore. So now all of a sudden you've got somewhere who's having an opportunity to sing in front of a national audience on a national stage, and then you tie one on. And then you're going to sit there, and because now all of a sudden this ridiculous backlash that you're going to check yourself in the rehab. Hey, good for you, but I got a news flash for you. Maybe if you already knew or her team realized how this person was, your ass doesn't sing the national anthem. Sit this one out, right? it's just, it really rubs me the wrong way, man. It really does, because nothing, everything you should earn, right? Everything should be earned. We talk about, I mentioned, listen, Saquon Barkley, right? The fan base is ticked off because Saquon Barkley signed with the friggin' Philadelphia Eagles. That's all that is. Nobody, Giant fans would not give a shit if Saquon signed with the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
They're pissed off. He went down 95. That's his right if he wants to sign with the Philadelphia Eagles. He needs to do what's best for himself and his family, whether right, wrong, indifferent, whether you don't like the way things go down, it just doesn't jive with you, that's fine. You don't need to spit on the guy. You don't need to piss on the guy. It is what it is. You want to boo him, you boo him. But that being said, I also think there's some extent to where at times, the athletes do like to prod and troll the fan base. And then what happens? The fan base wants to turn on the athlete. And then you read and you hear and you see the stupid stuff that comes out. I hope the guy cracks a rib. I hope the guy tears his knee. You never want to say that. You never want to manifest that. It does work both ways, I believe. But I think ultimately the players who have genuinely worked hard for these opportunities, respect the opportunity, don't take advantage of the opportunity. The fans who are allowed to cheer and go to these games, respect that opportunity. Don't take advantage of that opportunity, right? I mean, hell, what just went on Sunday night in Copa America in Miami Gardens? But it's just like, after a while, you get so turned off by this type of nonsense and the behavior. And I know I'm kind of going around the block here, and I apologize for that, but it does. I think after a while, you just got to say enough is enough and stop making excuses. It's kind of the point. Like, stop making everything. I think it's an easy out. If somebody's really, let's just say, and we've all dealt with it, and we've had family and friends deal with mental illness, real legit mental illness.
Mhm.
I think sometimes it is a very quick out, especially with some of these athletes. They can dish it out, they can't take it, and then when you turn on them right away, they're dealing with something like that. Now in football, a little different with the CT issue, but I think sometimes we're just taking that because it's low-bearing fruit, and now because I come out on the air during Middays with Q and say, hey, I'm suffering from X, Y, and Z. Now everyone's got to back off. Hey, hold on a second. You can call me out on that. Am I really, 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 really suffering? Or maybe I'm just thin-skinned. Maybe I can dish it out, but I can't take it. And again, I'm taking you down a rabbit hole and a slippery slope, but that's just how I feel. That's all.
No, you're right. But you're right, though.
Not as soft in that regard.
Yeah, no, but you're right, though, because again, I get tired of it as well. We saw someone get traded for someone who wasn't friggin' worth it. And I'm not talking about both people, but we saw something that should have never friggin' happened because there was warnings, there were all kinds of stuff that went on. But you come here, you're born and raised here. And then within the last couple of years, now you have this super hatred because, I don't like it. This is fucking stupid. This, that, and the other. That is not my problem. It isn't my problem. My problem is you are privileged to do stuff around here. Unlike other places where you're told where to be, you're told what to do. You don't have rights because they take that away from you from birth. Yet you still want to stay here. You want to cry me a freaking river and everything else. No, take you and your happy ass, get on a plane and go wherever it is that you think is a lot better. Because when you go there and you realize what you had here, you'll change your tune fast enough.
Yeah. We talked about it too, right? I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, the grass isn't always greener. That's with jobs, relationships, sports teams, and sometimes political views and how you view certain things. Absolutely. 727-858-6650. 30 minutes in, halfway through a first hour on this Wednesday edition, ripping through this Wednesday edition of Middays with Q right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, 727-858-6650. As we hit the bottom of the hour, I want to remind you, Pete and Angel talk about it during their shows. For all your late-breaking news, weather, traffic alerts, check out our good friends over at IONTB. We are powered by them and, of course, coming at you live, streamed, produced on Coastal Sports Network. Quickie timeout. We hope we will have the fantasy exec, Corey Parson. I'm sure he's got some probably obscure, who knows, third league cricket game that he's probably checking the odds if he's trying to put some shekels on, and we'll see if maybe he gives us a little tidbit on that when we come back on the other side. Keep it locked in. We'll take you up to 2:00 straight up right here on a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. Southwest
Hi,
Florida.
folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey. Why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him in the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
Indeed, do not forget to download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town app. This is a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here, Angel Martinez behind the glass, keeping us on the air, producing the show. By the way, we are powered by IONTB, updated about a minute ago, multi-vehicle crash in Hillsborough County on I-75 North, ramp to I-4, left lane blocked. So again, check out IONTB on social media platforms, Facebook, IG, and of course X, or as we like to say, Twitter back in the day. By the way, you can also capture us too at Rich Q on Q, at Coastal Sports Network, at CSN Florida. Corey Parson in a moment or two. I was getting crushed yesterday. People are like, make up your mind. Does Bronny stink or not? And I was just like, I think I kind of clarified that he's just not good right now. And I think he can still be a serviceable player, but you do have to have some type of skill set. When you're 6'1", 6'2" in the NBA, you either have to be able to hit the three or play lockdown defense, right? And I don't think that's hedging. I don't think I'm saying anything outrageous, not to kind of belabor the point. But, I just think it's a situation where if this kid's not drafted by the Lakers and if his last name's not James, we're not even having this conversation, right? So, it's kind of the world we live in.
Well, the good guy to ask that question is our next guest, which is Corey Parson.
Oh, there we go. We pop in on. There you go. My guy, the fantasy exec, Don in the Yankee hat, our good friend, Corey Parson. What's going on, brother?
What up, Rich? What's going on? Yeah, got the Yankee hat on. Time's tough in the Bronx right now, but they'll be there in the end.
You think so? I'll tell you what.
I hope so.
Well, depending upon the futures bet or the win total that you have for them coming out of the AL East. I will say this: they haven't played particularly well, and I believe, and I mentioned this yesterday with USA Today's baseball writer Steve Gardner. They have to win the AL East because the last thing you want to do is play in that wild card.
Yeah, especially if you got to deal with Boston, or I mean, not Boston, excuse me. If you got to deal with Baltimore, but even more so, the all of a sudden now hot Houston Astros,
Yeah.
and that's been basically taking a decade of championships or at least World Series appearances away from the Yanks. But I still got the Yankees, Phillies. I still think those are the two best teams in baseball this year.
A good point on the Astros, right? Because they're kind of sneaking up
Yeah,
on.
the Astros are coming.
Yeah. Well, if you're like the Mariners, you got to sit there and say, look, the last thing we want, is that offense to kind of go south, or a team like the Astros to jump over us, because that's a team with how many ALCS was 6, 7 straight seemed
Something
ALCS.
ridiculous like that. Listen, what was my? Oh man, I can't think of my buddy's name now. He used to do the newsletter. Joe Sheehan. And I remember when Joe Sheehan predicted that the Houston Astros would turn into a dynasty.
Right.
I remember the cover of
Yeah.
him saying that a dynasty was coming to Houston, and he nailed it. And a dynasty arrived in Houston, and yeah, there was some cheating that went along with that dynasty. But for the most part, they took a couple of World Series appearances at least away, AL pennants away from the New York Yankees. Because listen, Judge and these guys been there for a while.
Yep.
And they haven't won nothing.
No, they haven't. I mean, look, and he's putting up again. Aaron Judge is putting up historic numbers.
Yep.
I mean, when you equate the numbers to what he potentially can do if you project in the second half of the season, it's utterly ridiculous. And it's just a question of, can he always be healthy? Same argument with Ohtani. I mean, I don't know where you're at right now with Ohtani, but once again, I took a flyer before the season started, NL MVP and Ohtani, and that's pretty much when we knew he wasn't going to pitch. The value and the numbers he's putting up with the Dodgers. Now, some might argue, let's see what Harper does second half of the season with the Philadelphia Phillies. But I believe if or when Ohtani pitches and hits, he's the best player in the game, hands on, every single solitary season, probably for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, I want to see some postseason success, though. I want to see what he looks like in the brightest moments of the Major League Baseball season in the month of October. And that's when the legends of this sport are made and born. And I want to see Ohtani in that light. But I'll be honest with you, as a guy who was very, what's the word I want to use? I wasn't impressed, let's just say that. Now, watching him this year, I'm like, oh boy, this guy's the best.
Well, let me tell you something. I had a crush, one of my old producers at a station that I was on for a long time, because I'll never forget, he turned around and said, he's a fluke. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? This guy's a generational talent. And now all of a sudden you're seeing he's a generational talent. Corey Parson, the fantasy exec, does his own show on his YouTube channel as well. Also part of 107.5 The Game in South Carolina and Columbia, South Carolina. Kind enough to join us Middays with you. Yeah, it's just a remarkable. This is why you have to watch, the games, right? Because the sport has 5, 6, 7, 8 really fascinating, exceptional players, right? But the reason I bring it up, even from a betting standpoint, from a sports betting gambling standpoint, when you have an opportunity with some of these props for any time home run, right, and you're getting the plus on some of these guys, at times you got to grab it, right? Because the guys we're talking about, the guys we mentioned, even when Betts comes back, or the Harpers when they're healthy, or the Turners, or the Schwarbers, or the Judges, or the Ohtanis, these guys, man, they'll have 4, 5, 6 games where they're ripping 4 or 5 home runs, right? They hit them in bursts.
So if you have the bankroll, you should put $20 a night. Every night where this is a full MLB slate on an Ohtani Judge home run.
Anytime, yeah.
Yeah, and Ohtani Judge anytime home run prop. If you can afford it, $20 a night. Yeah. Because you're going to hit it a couple times, in the course of a month. You may hit it twice or 2 or 3 times a month. You know what I'm saying? Those are the dominant power sources right now. And it's cool entertainment in what we would call sports downtime. Now, not to take us back to the Bronny conversation.
Go ahead.
But I'm pro nepotism, right? I could turn on Sunday Night Football, #1 television show in the land, and see Jack Collinsworth And I'm like, well, anybody, this is where we are. You know what I'm saying? And as a parent, you work to become an industry leader. I really don't see no problem with you bringing your children in. But here's the problem. Not so much the problem, but it's like I feel bad for Bronny because this is his father's dream.
Bingo.
This is not his dream.
Bingo. I said the same exact thing yesterday. This is not about Bronny James. This is about what LeBron James wants. And again, I have no right to say LeBron James is not a good parent or father. I have absolutely no right.
Of course not.
I'm wondering, though, if he sat the kid down and said, look, I want to play with you. I want to have that opportunity. This is something that's beyond rare, right? We saw Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. play, hit a home run, wonderful moment. And I think that's awesome. What father wouldn't want to play with his son, right? Or play against it, whatever. And I'm not sitting there saying he had to sit and vet the kid, but it's more like, hey, you're going to be there in the second round. That's your talent right now. It's probably going to fall into our lap. Is it going to be too much to ask? Is the pressure going to be too much for you? Do you think, do you want to be your own man, right? You're always going to carry my name, right? Carry the last name, and you are my son. But is this what you want? And if the kid would have said, honestly, I would love to do it, but I want to forge my own path. I don't know. It's a tough call, man.
No, I feel you, but you got to, I think mom was in the conversation as well. And obviously she is going to, LeBron James is her husband, but that's her son. You know what I'm saying? So she's going to be obviously looking out for her firstborn. With that being said, I think he's probably the kind of kid that was probably like, you know what, let me just go ahead and go through with this. But I can remember nobody's more locked into college scouting. Oh, excuse me. And the NFL and NBA draft and Fran Fraschilla. And I remember a Fran Fraschilla tweet from a few months ago saying that one of this year's high profile prospects doesn't really want to play basketball. And I'm like, I think he was talking about LeBron James. I don't think that the kid is like wants to be a basketball player. I think he
talking
can
about Bronny. Talking about
Bronny. I don't think like I think that his passion lies elsewhere. I think he plays basketball. I think he wants to make his father, his parents happy.
Proud, yeah.
And yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But I think if you was to, talk to him, well, and I'm sure his parents have talked to him, but they're going to tell him different stuff. You know what I'm saying? I talk to my pops. I tell him different things. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm, if this is what you want, so be it. You know what I mean? So, and as a child, sometimes you can see that and you can adjust to it. But I don't feel as if this is for him. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how long it goes on.
With all that being said, then, I feel as though we're not allowed to have an opinion on the kid's game because right away people misconstrue it as, well, you're just hating on the kid because he's LeBron James's son.
No, I'm somebody that knows basketball and can tell you that he probably shouldn't be out there. I mean, if he didn't get drafted by the Lakers, he probably wouldn't have got drafted.
That's what I'm saying.
Averaged 4 points at USC. Didn't take that team. Him and Isaiah Collier couldn't get that team in a year where the Pac-12 was not great. They couldn't get that team. And don't get me wrong, this kid had a cardiac arrest last year. You know what I'm saying? So
no, and God, listen. God bless the kid. It's not about the kid.
You're right. Yeah, it's about LeBron. Exactly.
And it's also about the friggin' agent, Rich Paul, that basically came out and said, if you draft this kid, he's going to play in Siberia.
Yeah.
Like, is that not a form of tampering?
Yeah. Just the whole thing didn't ring or sit right with a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, but yet ESPN's got to sit there and blow smoke up my ass and tell me that this kid can ball?
You know how that goes. That's their partner. LeBron James, you can say, okay, well, the league is their partner. Well, no, James is their partner. The league is their partner and James is their partner too. And we've seen the worldwide leader do this before. You know what I'm saying? They know that when they get in bed, they're in bed with the UFC. You don't really get too much negative reporting over there.
No, that's a fair point too.
Yeah,
talking about Dana White. Yeah, that's a fair point.
So when they're in bed with you, they really are not. They're going to hold back their criticism.
Oh yeah, listen. They're not renting the room by the hour.
Yeah, yeah, for real. And they pay. This is high profile money they're paying for these partnerships.
Are those motels or hotels? Do they exist, by the way? Not that I'm asking you if you would know they exist. I am curious.
I plead the fifth.
What was I watching? Oh, it might have been the 30 for 30 on Survive in Advance.
Okay.
With the
Shout out to
NC
Jimmy V.
State. Yeah, the
Yes.
and I guess they mentioned during one of the NCAA, with the trip when they went on that run, I don't know if it was the game before Pepperdine, but they said they checked in a hotel room and it was clearly one of those rooms that you rent.
I can see. Listen, even this past year with the NCAA tournament,
Yeah,
there was some hotel issues. You know what I'm saying? So some of these smaller regional locations, if the main hotels, like for example, you have well, the Final Four is a different ball game altogether.
Sure.
But like when you go to the Final Four, like I was hearing some of the people down here saying that, the number one seed gets their choice of hotel. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So if you're coming into the Final Four, any regional as like a 12 seed, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to get the Motel 6.
As my friends would say, you got to be careful, man, because the lot lizards are crawling around. You got to be real careful on that one. You got to bring an extra dose of Robitussin.
Yeah, no doubt. You definitely better Robitussin up. You know what I'm saying? Because the lot lizards do be out there.
So when JJ Redick comes out and makes the comments that he does, listen, I think no matter what, if you're 6'1", 6'2" in the NBA, you have to have a certain skill set. Maybe this kid could be a good on-the-ball defender. I don't know. Obviously, we saw the lack of ability to hit the three. I feel as though this is just going to be a train wreck.
Yeah,
I feel this team's they're going to be 10 games under 500. LeBron's going to be, barking at JJ. They're going to want to put this kid in. And then how are you going to coach him up? I mean, I can tell you this. I don't know. You might have already have it in front of you what their win total is for next year, but I'm hammering the under.
Yeah, I would hammer the under too. When you look at the team, obviously LeBron and Davis are still elite level players. And then they got guys that play 30 minutes that don't score. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then they keep getting rid of the coach. That shows me a lack of consistency. This was one of sports' premier franchises, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now it looks like the Dallas Cowboys. You see what I'm saying? It's a lot of things going on to make you say, what's happening here? LeBron is going to leave the Lakers barren.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. They're going to have to, when LeBron decides to retire, they'll go on the big LeBron James retirement tour. Then they're going to tear the organization down and build it back up.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So for what? A bubble championship is what they got out of this.
Sure. Yeah. Let's celebrate the bubble championship.
On an in-season tournament championship.
We're waiting for data for an
yeah, they got the NBA token. They got the Commissioner's Cup.
That and a token gets Snoopy Bowl. That and a token gets you on the bus. Corey Parson, kind enough to join us on a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. We're coming at you on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, part of Coastal Sports Network, and powered by IONTB for all your late-breaking news, weather, traffic, updates. That's your source, your go-to source, so to speak. You mentioned, it's funny, too, because I want to get your thoughts. I feel as though there's been a lot of, the talking heads have come out of the woodwork. And yesterday I mentioned a little bit, Paul Feinbaum, 8 hours a day doing SEC, whatever, God bless, but had the comments during the media day about Deion Sanders, Colorado, and basically what he said, we were debating yesterday, fair or foul, but if you break it down into two parts, the first part, I think he's off talking about the relevancy, right?
Yeah.
Because we can get in that. But then the second part, Deion doesn't have the patience. I equate that to, well, wait a minute. It might only be 2 or 3 years, and then the NFL perhaps could be calling. So I think both his comments in two parts, both can be accurate. I mean, the first one, when he mentions that there's no relevancy, I brought up the numbers and the applicants going into the 2024.
Yeah.
I mentioned, again, the merchandise, the ticket sales. I mean, granted, this team 3-0, then they were 4-3 in the Stanford loss, and then it went downhill, whatever it was. We're not going back to the days of Eric Bieniemy or Cordell Stewart, but they were all eyeballs on Colorado last year. And let's be honest, that's because of some of the players, but it was 99.9% because of Deion Sanders.
Yeah, and anybody else named Sanders, particularly Shador. Listen, it's hard to say that Paul Feinbaum is wrong because, he probably knows more about this sport
100%.
than anybody, right? So I agree, Rich. The relevancy is there. This September can be just like last September. It really can. Because if they get hot and win a couple games and God forbid, win a big one, then it's going to be like, okay, well, wait a minute, let's see how far they can take it. You got Shador, who very well could be the #1 overall pick in the draft. I don't think Deion has said several times that he's not going to the NFL. I believe him on that. But let's see what happens with Billy Napier this year, right? Shador goes, Shiloh goes, they become pros, and Billy Napier has another 4 or 5 win season down there in Gainesville in Florida. Then I could see Florida reaching out and saying, hey, Deion, what do you think about coming home, right? But I honestly think that Deion's job is the Miami Hurricanes job when that becomes available. I think that's what he wants. I think Deion is holding a grudge versus Florida State. I think Deion feels that Florida State should have hired him and brought, and when he got hired at Jackson State, he wanted the Florida State job. I think he holds a grudge against Florida State, and I think if he had a chance to coach the University of Miami, he would jump on that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, good points. Again, we alluded to that yesterday with the schools down there.
And Florida and Miami both might need coaches after this year. Because I tell you what, Rich, Miami is set up to win the ACC this year.
Yeah.
For years, they've been talking about they got to get a quarterback. Yep. Miami has a quarterback now, and this kid, Cam Ward.
Right.
And if their skill position is where it's up to be, they should be able to win the ACC and be in the college football playoff. But on the sidelines, oh my God.
I can't even imagine.
Coaching is terrible.
Yeah, and I can't. You stick a Deion down there in Miami, right? And it's 305. I mean, yeah. But now, let me throw this one out. Let me take you down this rabbit hole because you know where I'm going with this one. But let me ask you this first: do you believe that Deion Sanders would want to coach in the NFL? This is just okay. So your Dallas Cowboys,
yes,
wet the bed, and they win 4 or 5 games. You already said. You told me on Back Your Play on my other pod and on here, you believe they're going to have a bad season. No more Dak, no more Mike McCarthy. What's to say Jerry Jones just doesn't make that call? I'll open up the checkbook. But again, it's a tandem. It's you.
Yeah.
And
well, here's the thing. I think it's Shador. I do believe that the Dallas Cowboys are very interested in Shador Sanders. And I think they're also very interested in Quinn Ewers, right? They would love to have a Texas quarterback and be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But what about Dak Prescott? They're about to pay Dak Prescott $56 million on a 1-year deal. Everybody knows they don't mind playing football politics in Dallas. And Mike Zimmer is sitting right there. Somebody who's been with Jerry and who Jerry trusts. I can see around Thanksgiving, Mike Zimmer, interim coach, right? And then they start to.
Hold on a second. You're saying that the Dallas Cowboys will make an in-season coaching change. You're that high on the fact that they're going to be. You're buying so low. They're going to be that bad this year.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't think. It's not that I think that the roster is bad. I think that they will scheme the team to be bad. Like you're handing the ball to Ezekiel Elliott. That's your #1 option.
You're basically saying you're saying without saying you think it's a tank season for the Dallas.
I think they're going to tank the season. I think they're going to tank the season. I think McCarthy, everybody on 1-year prove-it deals. To me, that doesn't seem right. You had Deion go on a podcast and say he knows exactly where he wants his son to play, and I'm like, that's Dallas. Deion and Jerry have a great relationship. I don't think it'd ever be a head coach thing, but I do think. Now, is Dallas going to be bad enough to get the first pick of the draft? I don't believe they'll be that bad, but I think they could put themselves in position to be in a top 10 draft pick with an eye on moving up to get a quarterback.
So the Dallas fanatical fan, Cowboys fan that you are, would you prefer the Cowboys go 12-5 again and get bounced in the first round and then run it back, or you're ready to just say enough is enough? McCarthy, Prescott, blow it up, rebuild.
It's over. the Dak Prescott era in Dallas needs to come to an end. Nothing's going to happen here, right? He is a different player post injury. The ability to scramble and get out the pocket and hit secondary wide receivers, he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it in the biggest moments. The years of the interceptions. This is what I tell not just Dak, but I tell the Michael Parson too. It's cool to beat up on the Giants and the Commanders. What you gonna do with the 49ers? See? Yeah, it's not fun now. You don't look like all pros when you play against other all pros.
You do.
It's easy to sack Daniel Jones.
2 shots at the Giants, by the way. Not
My
one.
bad.
2 shots. So when it's all said and done, who would have had the better run as Cowboys quarterback, Tony Romo or Dak Prescott?
Tony Romo. Because you can point to Romo. Now, Romo had a lot of failures, don't get me wrong. But you can look at an event and be like, okay, you can look at the fumbled punt, right? You can look at the Patrick Creighton running the wrong route in that horrible game in 2007.
2007, the Giants, yep.
Jesus, oh my God. And then you can point to Dez Caught. What can you point to in the Dak Prescott era?
Well, look, I'll say this. They win games. I'm not the biggest Prescott fan, but going back to
win games.
Well, yeah, going back to last year, I think what woke people up to, you got to have some wholesale changes now, right? No more Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator, this, that, the other thing. Look what happened against Green Bay.
Yeah, 50-0 at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
And the score wasn't 50-0, but it might as well have been 50-0.
Sure.
That was an embarrassment. In your home building,
Playoff.
Division champion, everything set to go your way.
That's the other thing. The road was paved, right? I mean, and that it breaks like that in sport. Hell, it happened in the NBA. Look at the Eastern Conference with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, you're right. The road paved. They got to miss elite players, and they got to miss a team that was going to fight them through the nail. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. And then you have to throw the fan base a bone. That game was in January. It's July, and the fan base is still angry like the game was yesterday. You got to. The fan base wants blood.
Right, because in their eyes, they lost to an inferior team. And it's funny
and now they're tired of being the laughing stock. Do you understand what it's like to be a Dallas Cowboy fan, to wake up on a Monday morning after a Sunday loss and every show is talking about you and the fan base for the rest of the week? We take the brunt. The fan base takes the brunt of what should be going towards the team.
Because it's an overhyped, overrated franchise. So we're stuck listening to these jerk-offs talk about them for 17 hours. And by the way, don't you dare come on my show and tell me what it's like if I know about losing. Are you freaking kidding me?
But you don't have to hear about the losses.
I don't hear about the losses.
You don't have to hear about it. Cowboy fans have to hear about the losses.
That helmet come September is going to be a mini helmet. It's going to be non-existent. I was just talking about it during the opening monologue with the Giants. Like, enough with the Saquon Barkley. You're only pissed off because Saquon Barkley signed with the Eagles. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Mike Lombardi had a great line when you're looking at the Hard Knocks and how, Schoen said, well, I don't want to pay a quarterback $40 million and pay a running back $12 million. Well, the Eagles are doing it. The Eagles paying the quarterback $50 million and the running back $12 million. Why can't you do it?
I can't believe it. By the way, 1:00 straight up on the East Coast, an hour and 60 to play with on a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here, Angel Martinez behind the glass, Corey Parson kind enough to join us. And again, this is Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. Coastal Sports Network, and of course, Broad Street South, powered by IONTB. I just get really, and you guys can chime in and text in as well, 727-858-6650. It just boggles my mind how we put such stock into some of these players, and I got hammered for saying it. Like Saquon Barkley, when he's on the field, yes, the talent is there, but I also believe there's an element of this mystique behind Saquon Barkley that he's an overrated player. He had 3 really good seasons, 2 great ones, and they came the first and second seasons in his career. But he's always been injury prone, and I get it. He's their only offensive weapon. I totally understand that, but he's also a running back. Like, I keep going back Name me teams that have had that stud wide receiver and the stud running back that have won Super Bowls. You don't always need them, but this notion you need a stud running back, you need a stud receiver, you don't. Look at the friggin' Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. And Saquon's Barkley's height, he was a 4.5 to 5 yards a carry guy, and a 8 to 9 yards a catch guy. Now he's a 4 yards a carry guy, 7 yards a catch guy.
And he comes off the field on third down.
I wouldn't pay him. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. But the emotional attachment to the player because he's your best player. Well, you got to make another best player.
Hey, look, man, it's a friggin' business.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with Odell Beckham.
The Eagles are set up to carry a $12 million running back.
Yeah, and listen.
The Giants are not.
It's the same thing with Beckham, and Beckham now has turned into, I hate to say it, a journeyman wide wide receiver. Yeah. He goes from the Giants, then he rips on Eli, then he's with Cleveland where players go to die, then from Cleveland. Where did he go after Cleveland? He bounced around. What, the Rams?
Baltimore. And the Rams would have won small MVP if he'd have finished.
Well, that's true, but
but that was it. He was done after that.
But when you look at his career, what do we remember? This against
in
Dallas on Sunday night in a game they lost, by the way, and everyone's talking Hall of Fame. He's not making the Hall of Fame. And Saquon Barkley's not making the Hall of Fame.
He's not even a giant, giant Ring of Honor guy.
I would put Hakeem Nicks in the Ring of Honor.
Relax. Hakeem Nicks was very good, but
he's a beast.
Ring of Honor is a little much for Hakeem Nicks now.
I would put Hakeem Nicks.
What is the highlight of Hakeem Nicks' career? You can't point to a signature moment of Hakeem Nicks' career.
Are you kidding me?
Burris, you got the catch in the back of the end zone. What do you have to say? Oh, remember when Hakeem Nicks did that?
Stop. Hold on. Now you're embarrassing yourself on my show, and I need to stop you. Go back to 2011. He was a friggin' beast in the playoffs.
Okay. But you can't point to the signature moment. What's the signature play?
Okay, the Hail Mary catch against Green Bay in the divisional round. What?
Okay,
that's a good one. Defenders in the wild card against Atlanta. What?
That's a good one. Okay.
Yes.
Hakeem Nicks a champion? Is he a champion?
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. I don't know, though, still. I don't know if I'm putting Hakeem Nicks in the Ring of Honor.
I'm saying I would do it over.
Where you gonna put a Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker, in there too?
Now,
he got like 12 touchdowns.
Now you're just taking shots. Him
Stephen
and Mark
Baker, the touchdown maker.
By the way, Stephen Baker had one of the greatest plays on 3rd and 13 in the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, no, he did have.
And it's funny too because now you're coming at me like that, and I'm thinking to myself, for you got to go watch VHS tapes.
And I actually have the VHS tape still of, when Sports Illustrated, you get the windbreaker and the VHS tape of the season. I believe it was called How About Them Cowboys. Listen, I've been beaten down enough by the Dallas Cowboys, right? So I'm going to just spread my hate to the other teams as well.
By the way, I'm just letting you know.
It's not fair. It's not fair that if the Eagles go on a 3-game losing streak, nobody talks about it. If the Cowboys lose 2 games, it's talked about for the whole entire week. It's not right.
2 things. Just letting you know, Hakeem Nicks, 7 for $165, 2 touchdowns in a divisional game against the Packers. That's number 1. Second of all, if the Eagles are losing, we're talking about it. They lost 6 out of 7. That was a 10-1 team, and everyone was talking about Jalen Hurts. The problem is with your Cowboys, it's either the Cowboys or when LeBron played with Miami or Cleveland or the Yankees. Those are the teams that they gravitate and focus on. Why? Because it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's the star. You take that star off of that helmet, that's it.
Yeah, well, listen, they shout out to the Dallas Cowboys for building the biggest brand in sports. They're the number 1 show on television. It's the truth. But the fans want to see championships. I'm sick of it. All the other stuff about the ratings and number 1 show on television, a fan and a season ticket holder in every 50 state, the UK, China, and Canada. It doesn't mean anything until you hoist another Lombardi trophy. It don't mean nothing. The Hall of Famers, the Pro Bowls, all of that, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. By the way, my guy on Facebook, Tommy D, chimes in, Summers Point Giants fan. Q, please school your guest, Hakeem Nicks, 4 games in 2011 playoffs, 444 yards, 29 receptions, 42 targets, 4 touchdowns. That should silence him.
I remember the helmet catch. I remember Mario Manningham. I remember Plexico Burris giving Al Harris the business. I remember Hakeem Nicks being a good fantasy guy.
Plaxico did give him the business.
He did. Plaxico ate Al Harris lunch that
twice.
game. Yeah.
Have you started? Well, I'm sure you did. I know I only got you for a couple more moments, but futures wise in the NFL, when I let me just bring up the Patriots for a moment.
Yeah.
I believe the Patriots are going to be a team. I know it's dropped. I think the win total was 5.5. Now it's dropped all the way to 4.5. I'd have to double check. I caught it at 5.5. I went under. Do you recall a team that went through an entire season without being favored?
Oh boy.
I don't even know when the Lions lost all those games.
I was going to say, I think it may have been the Lions.
Point being, how many games do you think the Patriots will be favored in?
Oh man, this is going to be really tough because even the bad NFC.
I have their schedule. I'll give you their schedule right now.
All right, I'm here for it.
Go ahead. They go on the road against Cincinnati.
They're going to be an underdog.
At home against Seattle.
They'll be an underdog.
On the road against the Jets and the 49ers.
Two more underdog games.
At home against Miami, Houston, Jacksonville, and the Jets.
Underdogs.
This might be your one favorite, but I still find it hard to believe. On the road against Tennessee.
If it was home, I could see maybe that being Tennessee minus 2.5, right? Which still makes them the favorite, but you're in that margin of error.
On the road against Chicago.
I like the Bears. I think the Bears are going to be a good team this year.
So
they're not going to be a favorite.
So, Patriots will be.
Unless they was to play Carolina.
All right. No, not on the schedule. At home against the Chargers.
No, this is Harbaugh. Now, Harbaugh doesn't turn it around fast. Oh, you know what? Speaking of the Chargers, you know what we're going to do this year? Let's, since we can have a conversation about everybody else, right? Particularly Dallas Cowboys. We have to have a conversation about Justin Herbert because I'm okay. I don't want to hear about the talent no more. I don't want to hear about the arm strength and the anticipation and the footwork. I need to see results. I need to see results from Justin Herbert. We got to see results from a lot of these young quarterbacks. Why is Justin Herbert being crowned and ain't done nothing?
Well, because I also think he's a product of a horrible head coach, right? And Harbaugh is going to come in and be good for at least 3+ wins. And Herbert, I think, weapons, some injuries.
So now we judging Herbert from here on forward?
I'm a big Justin Herbert fan. I do think, though, he's got to win a playoff.
But why?
I think the kid's extremely talented. I also think
he don't win. You see what I'm saying?
Listen, that is a fair point. He puts up gaudy like Dan Fouts numbers, but I also think that head coach was a debacle.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And they probably should have kept Anthony Lynn because he had a running game there.
Correct.
And they were solid when they had Anthony Lynn. They messed that up. This latest guy was a disaster. And now you get Harbaugh. Harbaugh's a winner.
Yeah.
And I think Harbaugh will be fine, but Harbaugh's going to rebuild the team in his image.
So going back real quick, I want to finish this out with you. So you got him as a dog against the Chargers, on the road against Miami, at home against Indianapolis.
I think Indianapolis is going to be a good team, and they'll compete for the division championship again.
All right, so they're dogs all the way up.
They're
into
dogs
the
all the way in through.
Okay.
Here's the deal: are you going to pick on them in Survivor? Like, how many weeks do you think you'll be picking a team that's playing the Patriots?
Well, they got Arizona, Buffalo, the Chargers, and Buffalo last. I don't see them being favored at all. My guy, Tim Moten, big heavyweight, my man Mayhem, tuning in. We appreciate that, brother. He's going to jump on the show hopefully in a week or so. I don't think they're going to be favored in any game.
They won't.
I just
look at their roster.
It's horrible. Look at their
best player is Ramondre Stevenson.
Look at their coaching staff.
Yeah. This is they gutted this. And they needed to. But listen, you give Bill Belichick hard time for the way that he left the organization. See, Bill Parcells would never leave an organization like this. It would have been stuff in the cupboard when Parcells left, right? The problem is you're drafting at the back of the draft for 20 years. You know what I'm saying?
That's what happens when you're winning. That's not a bad problem to have.
No doubt. That means that you were winning. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, listen,
but Mac Jones was a horrible draft pick. And don't get me wrong, I was a Mac Jones supporter. But they messed him. They messed Mac Jones up when they made Patricia the OC.
I think there was a lot of head-scratching moves, but I can also turn around and sit there and say, well, the Jets kind of screwed up Sam Darnold and maybe Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and then Trey Lance wasn't no big success anyway. Everybody was talking about, oh, that's who the Patriots should have drafted. You see what happened with Trey Lance. That just Justin Fields in that draft too. That just may end up being a bad quarterback draft.
Interesting you said Justin Fields. Who starts for Pittsburgh?
It's got to be Russell Wilson.
Why?
Mike Tomlin is going to go with the veteran quarterback.
Until
listen, if you get a little bit better quarterback playing Pittsburgh, you're a playoff team. In a tough division.
He stinks. He's done. He's cooked.
He's over, but he's better than Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, but Kenny Pickett's not on the roster anymore.
Okay, Justin Fields is.
A younger player, fresher legs.
Turn the ball over too much.
Did the kid get a bad rap in Chicago?
A real project. When he hit the open market, nobody wanted to trade. They were talking about second, third round draft picks.
How about their roster? Pickett, Rudolph, Trubinsky, and Hayward.
You know why? Because when all of these years, as Ben Roethlisberger was aging and couldn't throw the ball past the line of scrimmage, whenever they would talk about drafting a quarterback, Roethlisberger would get his panties in a bunch, and then they would back off. So Roethlisberger was the reason why this happened. They were too scared to draft a quarterback with Roethlisberger there.
Yeah, but then
when Roethlisberger let them draft a quarterback, it was like Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, but that's
they
the
can
norm
never
right
go
now.
and get a first round quarterback because Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls.
But that's the norm right now in the NFL. We have to run it by you, right? I mean, think about this: the Atlanta Falcons pay Kirk Cousins, and then they draft Michael Penix.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? The run it by you thing. To me, that's the NBA-ing of the NFL.
Yeah.
Right. When they asked Jerry Jones if they ran it past Dak Prescott when they brought Trey Lance in, Jerry Jones said no. See, that's what I like about Jerry. I mean, we don't let the players run the organization. You know what I'm saying? You don't do that. It's not LeBron James.
Yeah.
Now, Rob didn't let LeBron James run the organization, and the Miami Heat are still in good shape.
Well, yeah. By the way, I pinpointed I have to find it. I pinpointed the game. I mentioned it a couple times. How many games do you think before Cousins gets benched?
That's an interesting one right there. Is Cousins healthy? So let's start there. I need to see Cousins healthy first. Now, as far as benching goes, here's the thing. What is Atlanta? They got a lot of home games in to start the season, so they should be all right. They might
have
be able to
1, 2, 3. They have 4 out of their first 5.
Or at home. No, 6 out
yeah,
of their
but
first
look at
7.
their schedule, though. Pittsburgh, Philly, Kansas City, New Orleans, Tampa, Carolina. Give me.
They can beat those teams. Yeah. They can beat Pittsburgh too. Pittsburgh in week 1 is going to be tough, though.
Yeah, I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be very good this year. I think there's a lot of bad football teams in the NFL because there's a retread of these quarterbacks. I think that you got guys coming off injuries, i.e. the Daniel Joneses, the Kirk Cousins. You got guys got paid and maybe haven't lived up to the contract. Look, I know it's low-bearing fruit to say, but I think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback.
He's the best quarterback in the NFC.
What's that?
He's the best quarterback in the NFC.
Yeah, but how do you say that when you look at the consistency and the winning that a guy like Purdy has had? And I feel
I would take Hurts over Purdy.
I'm not saying you won it, but I feel as though Purdy is a guy that we just lump where he got drafted. Away.
And you know what we're doing with Purdy? We're saying it's the system. We're looking at Kyle Shanahan's system and how most quarterbacks have success in it, and we're saying that Purdy's success is because of the system, and that's not fair. But I'm a Purdy supporter.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's better than Jalen Hurts.
You take him over Dak?
To do what? To be the quarterback of the Cowboys? Sure, why not?
I'm just
To be the quarterback of the Cowboys? Sure.
To shuttle you in and out at those hour rentals over there.
No, he's fine. Yeah, he can do just as good a job as Dak can. Probably won't turn the ball over in the playoffs.
This is true. Now, listen, can we catch you down? What's going on with the station?
We'll have some announcement coming up as we go into the season. So we're putting together an in-season plan for the fantasy executive. So, hopefully we'll see. You know what I mean? It's a tough business, but I am a believer that the talent rises to the top.
It is
I don't know when.
It is a ridiculous nut to crack at times because we talked about this so many times off the air. I find it funny too. Sometimes on social media, I saw some of these posts where like someone will lose, 20-year-old kid will lose their job in media. So what do? They tweet out, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." I'm thinking to myself, first of all, if I ever did that shit, I mean, I'm 20 years old. I'm working like 70 hours a week. I'm doing whatever I need to do, working the overnights at the radio station, grabbing, this, that, the other thing. I don't know. It's just weird how now all of a sudden tweet, right? I mean, how about this? How about, you do your due diligence and you call up stations, you follow up, you send air checks, right? You make that commitment. Maybe we're too old school or we're too old for that matter, been doing this too long. But I just find it funny, hey, I just lost my job. Somebody bail me out.
Yeah. Doesn't happen like that.
No.
It doesn't happen like that. You know what I'm saying? So
no, it does not.
Doesn't happen like that. So you got to keep grinding. You know what I'm saying? But at some point you get tired of it.
Yeah, but you know what? You have to stay the course, man. In for a penny, in for a pound. That's the way I look at it. It's
No
just
doubt.
and you got to pivot. Everything now about content creation, you got to pivot sometimes. I know, sometimes we don't like to pivot, but once you start doing that and you get in a good flow,
the game will take you where you need to go.
This is true. I mean, it's an interesting broadcasting, sports talk, content creation, sports talk radio. We're at a very interesting time now. And then I kind of joke, man, because maybe in 10 years when they use this AI, I mean, crap, maybe we'll just have our silhouettes of ourselves.
Talking. Oh,
Yeah.
Rich, let me get out of here. Give me something to eat.
All right, brother. I always appreciate you, Corey. Be well,
man, tell Angel I said what's up and y'all be good down there.
All right, you got it, my friend. Take care. There you have it. My guy, Corey Parson, got to get to his other gig, and we always appreciate him jumping on board for a couple moments. Yeah, we might have the silhouette in the AI, 727-858-6650. By the way, he gave us about 40-plus great entertaining minutes, and we always appreciate that. What's going on, Angel?
You guys cracked me up with the the whole motel stuff. The one that came to mind just because I lived in the area was the Lincoln Motel on Route 1. If you're heading towards Neshaminy,
okay.
It was just heading east. So a block east of the Neshaminy Mall. It was on our right-hand side. So it used to be years ago, and I forget the diner that's right across the street from it. But
Neshaminy Diner, right?
It could be, yeah. I know there's been like a lot of the radio stations back home. They used to go there a lot, but it was a great spot to eat, more importantly. But it used to be, so it was, I want to say it was like one of the original ones that were in the area when it first opened up, high class, all the good fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then it got sold and sold and sold to the point when the last time I was in the area, when you would drive by, I've never seen anything like this ever in my life, but you would drive by. So I've been down here 6 years. Let me think. In 2015, it was, you can book the room by the hour. Then just before I left was, how many minutes do you need?
Wow.
Never ever in my lifetime ever see something like that posted from a hotel.
So the motels are when you walk on the outside to get in, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember I was doing a fight. This was years ago. And this was the one streaming platform. I mean, my God, well, first of all, I did a fight in Southwest DC. This was probably 15 years ago. And this streaming platform was so friggin' cheap. I'll never forget. It was a Days Inn, and I opened up the door. I had to share the room with one of my producers, right? And I'm just kind of an anal dude. And I'm just like, well, that came out the wrong way, but I'm just one of those guys, like, leave me alone. I need my own friggin' room, right? Just, I don't want to fucking stop laughing.
I know what you meant, but it's still
just this guy over here's got jokes. So what? Not that there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying, because what I was saying is that we walked in and there was like blood on the chair, and I looked at him. I was like, "Are you effing kidding me?" He's like, just wipe it down." I'm like, it reminded me of the scene in Coming to America where they said, give us the shittiest room we have. And the guy goes, "You're really going to love this one." And he opened up the door and you see the outline of the dog. And he goes, "Damn shame what they did to that dog."
Yeah, I do remember that one.
But the other one that I was going to mention was, it was somewhere off of like exit 70, I think, off the Parkway. It was like in Waretown, and it was snowing. And I'm like, I was like, it was coming down really hard. And I was like, all right, I'm not, forget this crap. It's not worth dying over. Let me just pull over. And I saw there was like this restaurant / bar, but then it had like rooms adjoined to it. And I was like, oh, I'm like, do you have rooms for the night? And she said, yes. And I said, okay. And she goes, "Are you sure you want to be here?" And I was like, "I'm just going to sleep for a couple of hours. What's the problem?" She's like, "Not the best area." I'm like, "I just really need to sleep." I think it was like $70 something, right? Gave her cash. She didn't ask for nothing. It's just like, "Here you go. No receipt. There you go." I walk in, and I had to walk in from the outside. So it was a motel. It had the old school, the chain lock,
right?
Where you shut the door and you put the little chain, right?
Yeah.
And I hear all these truckers going by, and all this noise. I'm looking around and I'm like, yeah, this is not good. This is not going to be good. So I had a change of clothes, and then I ran to my car and I got my hat, my gloves, my scarf, my coat, tucked in, trying to get some sleep. You ever stay in a room, like traveling, or if you're having nightmares, or maybe you think you're asleep and you're not asleep in your bed, and you feel as though something is touching you?
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not saying in this case your lovely wife, right?
Right.
But just you're by yourself and you're saying to yourself, "The fuck is grabbing at my feet? Like,
Yep.
what is going on?" Right? And you're flailing about. I don't know what the hell was in that bed with me, because I had all my clothes wrapped over me. I'm like, not doing it. Got up out of bed, literally sat in a chair. And it's just like, it was like almost a scene like out of Old Country for No Country for Old Men. I'm in the chair, like waiting for someone to walk through the room. Then like 4 a.m, the door just starts
Oh, no.
in and out, opening. And I'm like, Jesus, mother of God. I'm like, that's it. Get me out of here. I was like, done. I mean, when I burned the clothes, I had a suit. I burned that shit when I got home. I showered for days, and I still felt like there was something in that. To this day, I will always believe there was something else in that bed with me.
It's happened. There's how many spots that when you work in media, even when you're just traveling, right? You go from place to place, you might get called up because of whatever, any kind of emergency. I remember moving down here to Florida, had my car packed. Thank God I did not get a flat, because if I would have, I'd have been screwed from so much stuff that I had to dig out from the car, because I just packed whatever I could haul and that was it. So I had to wait for my landlord at the time in South Philly, who told me he was going to be there about 9 o'clock in the morning. He said not to show up until like 5 in the evening. I'm like, screw this. I'm not. And I had my car packed from the night before, and I swore someone was going to break in and take it. But thank God nobody ever did. So I think I finally pulled away 7 o'clock at night after he had spoken to me and stuff. And I want to say I arrived towards the end of North Carolina borderline, some 7 hours later, something like that.
Yep.
I was like, all right, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to pull over. I just can't do this anymore. And I'm not doing the whole pulling over 95 type deal. Yep. So end up pulling to this hotel. Really nice lady right behind the counter. She was like, hey, our rooms are clean for the most part. She goes, obviously we're not, the Motel 6 or anything else like that. But, we kind of get by. And I was like, all right, no big deal, $40. And she said, if you just don't like it, come back, I'll take care of it. I'm like, all right. So I go to the room. I go to the room and I'm just paranoid because I know I have my belongings in the car. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and go to sleep. So turn on the light, looked around, like, all right, let me check the bed. No bed bugs, doing nothing. But I go to the bathroom, turn on the light, and this roach looked at me like, bruh, you're the next victim? I got you. And I couldn't even walk out the bathroom where it was just bing off the shoulder, off the floor. No,
that's horrible.
I'm good. Nope, don't need it. Free. Went right back down to the counter, and she goes, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Listen, I don't know what kind of pets you guys have here, but that pet that greeted me at the door was enough for me to get out of here." She's like, "Yeah, this kind of part of town, we have all kinds of stuff that goes on, but you're lucky it was just that."
Now, can you live more with the roaches or the spiders? And there's a reason I'm asking you that.
They're both equally bad, but spiders are more prone to get in your ears.
So, well, God knows how many get in our mouths when we sleep, but that's besides the point.
Right.
When I moved to Ohio to do radio at News Talk 1290 WHIO, it was in a town of Kettering in Dayton, Ohio. It snowed in September. I lived next to I believe he might have been assassinated by now, a drug lord, but that's besides the point. The area was horrible. And I'll never forget, I slept in my car for about 3 days. I drove up there. I just packed. My buddy was in Columbus. He's like, come and get a radio job in Ohio. And of course, jerk off me. I'm like, yeah, let me just pack and just go to Ohio for $7 an hour, whatever. So I stayed in my car for 3 days. And I was at the radio and TV station. Finally, someone knocks on my windshield and they're like, hey, you can't sleep here. And I was like, no, I work here. They're like, no, you don't. I was like, I do. And he goes, oh, you're the guy from New Jersey. I said, yeah. Guy worked on the TV side. He worked overnights. He's like, listen, I have a room for rent and it's about 15 minutes away. And I'm dating myself. This was probably 2000. Really nice husband and wife. And I think he charged me $300 a month. Had a little stove, little refrigerator. And he's like, couple things. He's like, no drugs. We got to deal with that around here. I said, no, you don't have to worry about that with me. And he goes, and don't make a habit of bringing people in and out. I said, I don't know anyone. I just got up here already. I just want to work because I'm working the overnights and all this other stuff. And then on my days off, I would go and I would chop wood outside in the next town over to make cash. That's how crazy that crap was, right? That's what I'm saying when someone's like, oh, I lost my job, hire me on Twitter. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, so, Jesus God. But I'll never forget, he said two things. You have to wait till my wife does the laundry to shower. And I was like, okay, I can live with that. And he goes, and it's damp down there. And I'm like, I gotcha. No worries. All right. Second night, I'm cleaning, right? I'm just moving stuff around and I see a couple spiders. I don't think anything of it. Wait for his wife to do the laundry and get in the shower with ridiculously cold water. I mean, you talk about an all-time shrinkage. It was there. And I see a couple of spiders in the shower. I don't think anything of it. Next day I go out, find one of the local hardware stores, which were very far and few. Because when I went to get groceries, I almost fucking wound up in Cleveland. Now, mind you, there was no GPS. You got to write shit down. Yeah, it was horrible. I don't know where the hell I was. It was bad. And that was like 3 hours away. But that's besides the point. So I got spray. I'm talking to my cousin. And he's like, how is it up there? I said, it's not bad. He goes, you like your place? I was like, look, man, it's definitely doable. I was like, little spider problem. And he's like, oh, well, did you spray? I said, I sprayed. And he's like, well, make sure you spray. It's his words. Make sure you spray behind the bed and any furniture. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, because it's always dampest around those areas. Okay. Hung up the phone, pulled the sofa back, a couple little spiders, no problem. The hairs are starting to I feel like I'm about to dry heave, to be honest. We might need a commercial. I pull out the bed, Angel. It looked like the 1977 movie with William Shatner, Kingdom of the Spiders.
Oh no.
Angel, there must have been 50 to 75, and some of them some of them were still alive.
Oh
Now,
no.
mind you, I have a pretty strong stomach, but can you just imagine me going like spraying and going like this? I yelped and screamed like a 6-year-old who just didn't get the gift that they wanted on Christmas. I'm running around spraying, throwing stuff. Oh, I mean, I was so freaked out. I didn't sleep in the bed for a month.
Good
I slept on
Lord.
the sofa. It was so bad. And like all I remember is my cousin so nonchalant, so indifferent. Oh yeah, you might want to check behind the bed and the furniture. And I'm like, what the hell? It was, yeah, man. So you're talking about, one roach. I'm talking about Kingdom of the Spiders, where if I would have slept that night, I might have been wrapped up in like a little cocoon. Horrible. It was horrible. It freaked me out. I couldn't eat for a couple of days. I was just so it was such a mental what. It was such
Uh-huh.
a mind what. I mean, it was you talk about just running around like constantly.
Uh-huh. Because it feels like it's constantly crawling on you. That's the worst feeling ever. Because you can't sleep. That's just as bad. Remember the rooms, and I don't know, from the place that Debbie and I have stayed at because of events and places that we've gone to, like even out in Vegas, they don't. It used to be, which I never understood why they would put the mirror on. So if you're going to the bathroom, for example, it's not going that talk. But
All right.
so you know how, because remember, like, back in the day that they used to be the big thing. It was mirrors freaking everywhere. But well, it used to be where they would put instead of putting the mirror. My opinion, if you own a hotel, if the hair dryer is already inside the bathroom and you're getting ready, let's just say, for example, inside the bathroom, then like the mirror should be on the inside door of the bathroom. This is before they start putting on the sliding doors. So I think I was on leave. This is when I was at Fort Bragg.
Right.
Stop at his hotel. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just tired. Came back from deployment. I'm ready to freaking go back. I was going to take a plane ride, but the weather was freaking bad. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just freaking drive. So stopped by this hotel, and I mean, it was clean. Don't get me wrong. It was nice, the whole 9 yards. And I was just tired. So I take my bag, put her on the bed. I'm like, you know what? I think I just need a freaking fresh shower and I'll be just fine. So now picture if you're going, you just came from inside the hallway of the building. So now you enter your room door and you go in and the bed is up against the window wall.
Yeah.
So mind you, I didn't even turn on the lights or anything. So I put the bag down, half freaking asleep. I come back and the door to the bathroom is halfway open, but there's a mirror as you're walking back towards the bathroom that was on the closet. So as I walk, I see the reflection, which is me. I've never kicked the door so hard that I thought I kicked the crap out of this person. Like, yeah, that's what you get. And I'm thinking like,
who is that?
Where the hell where's that person? So I'm like an idiot. What do I do? Scare the crap out of myself as I pull the door. I'm like, I'm trying to see. I'm like, what? And I scream like a girl.
Yeah.
Head towards the bed. I'm like, the hell am I doing? So I walk back. I'm like, are you freaking? I just kicked the shit out of my reflection on a mirror that was on the door, reflected off. But when you're tired, you just don't know sometimes.
Correct. And when you see, like I said, Kingdom of Spiders, it freaks you out. Dedicated story time with Q. Yeah, listen, I love sharing them on the air. I mean, so I all the driving and all the stops that I've made over the years. I mean, it is crazy some of the places that they put you up, or like when flights cancel. But we do what we need to do, and but the spiders, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think that's the worst. Those spiders, like roaches. You listen again. Some of us who grew up, they know who you are.
Sometimes the cockroaches, the roaches just hang out. You just, hey, man, it is what it is, man. We'll see you later down the street. I say, it's no problem, man.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because you turn on the lights and we're like, hey, what's going on, buddy? Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm already dealing with you guys. Don't even run. I already see you guys. No big deal. But, when you go for a first time at your friend's house, same exact thing, and you don't expect it, and you turn the lights on, and all you see something just scatter real quick. Goes, what the hell was that? Goes, oh, dude, that's just nothing. That's just our friends. I'm like,
that's our friend, man. He just came to visit us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like having a little chipmunk come and visit you on the
exactly. Or like us, a woodpecker. First thing in the freaking morning, he wants to just go ahead and peck on the damn roof.
727-858-6650. All right, I know we're behind. We got 20 to play with. Good stuff. We'll take you up to 2:00 straight up. Keep it locked in on a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Do not forget to download our app as well, sr1029thegame.com. We are powered by IONTB and coming at you live, stream, produced, courtesy of Coastal Sports Network. 20 to play with. We'll come back on the other side.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
IONTB is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, IONTB.com. IONTB keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by IONTB. We'll be right back.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Middays with Q. Here's Q.
I think it just dawned upon me. I think I know why. So for those who have been tuning in, both from SR 1029 The Game and CSN Florida on X, I think the bell just went off, and I just remembered why. So
you think the what went off?
The bell, as
okay,
ding dong, park bells.
Okay. Your show. Go ahead.
So, no, your show. I'm just taking up a minute.
No. I meant it's. You know what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Yes. No, but I think I know why. Because my lovely producer had walked in like just before 12, and she goes, "Hey, by the way, it went away on my phone, but everybody else is still watching." I think it just dawned upon me. So what ended up happening was when on Monday, those who have premium accounts with Twitter X, for some reason, including Elon, could not go live. And it's because what was supposed to happen was all these bots that were on X, not saying that they're not anymore, but the ones that were on there and they were broadcasting all kinds of raunchy stuff, everything else. Basically what Elon was like, all right, I'm going to one up you guys to make sure you get a premium account. So not only do you get a blue check mark, but you also make sure that you're verified. So you are a human.
Okay.
I set up the default of the way I kind of backdoored it to work for the last 2 days. And what I ended up doing was to so-called end the broadcast at 12, yours to kick on from 12 to 2. But because it went one long continuous one, I think what ended up happening was it thought, oh, you guys are done. See you later. And so I got to go back. Mental note, I have to go back, adjust it. So therefore, everybody can continue because, again, you can see the show live still on Twitter if you were watching from 7 a.m. this morning all the way through.
Right. Yeah, everything gets so confusing because we want to sprout out so much content on so many different platforms, and it's never really easy, to be quite honest with you, right? They're always changing something every single solitary day, but that was a very well thought out, well drawn out explanation, Mr. Gambini.
Oh, thank you.
I got to know my use for this guy.
That movie, that has to be the one movie. Okay, so
are you telling me that your grits soak faster in your water than the entire grit eating population? Are these magical beans?
Are these? It's such a good movie. And then when he goes all the way back and holds up his two fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to cut you off. Did you see the new trailer for the new Gladiator?
Not yet.
Okay.
Is
And I already told you that Cobra Kai season 6 is July 18th.
Is that going to be the final one? I hope not.
Yeah, season 6. Yeah, that's. I mean, listen, who are they going to fight left? They're going to fight death. I mean, after this point, you just get to a point where there's no one else. I hate to tell you, Mr. Miyagi, God rest his soul, is not walking through that door. There's not. They've recycled. They've hit. There's one character though, a couple characters they haven't brought back.
Okay.
Do you remember the dude? And he had his moment back in the day. His buddy Freddie. You know, yeah, because he was also the waiter in the original Beverly Hills Cop.
Right.
I didn't see him.
Huh.
Right. I didn't see him, and I'm trying to think who else would be left.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
By the way, have you seen? I don't know if I asked you or not. Have you seen Your Honor on Netflix?
Oh, fantastic! Who you?
Yeah, but it's driving me bananas because we binge watched it, but what drives me kooky is like why you went back to jail and then there's all these hanging questions, but it looks like the series is going to be over. I would hope not, but it looks like Bryan Cranston was like, all right, you know what? That's it. End script. That's it.
Well,
see you later.
I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but I think that's what they do with some. I think sometimes when like for instance, True Detective. Like I thought the best season was season 1 of True Detective. It gets a little goofy the second and third, fourth season. I will say this, full disclosure: Kaylee Reese, who's one of my broadcast partners for boxing, she co-starred with Jodie Foster in season 4. She was phenomenal. But I think there's a shelf life for some of these shows. Like, I think for Your Honor, they squeezed everything in. Like, they wrapped it up nicely. Like, I'm still waiting to see Bosch Legacy, the lawyer. I think there are some shows that a season or 2 or 3 you're done with. I never knew how great of an actor Bryan Cranston was until I watched Breaking Bad. Now, I remember him as Tim Watley on Seinfeld, but until I watched Breaking Bad, I binged Breaking Bad, and I was like, wow, this show is phenomenal. And Breaking Bad, I think, went 8 seasons.
No, it only went 5.
Did it? No, You're right. 5 seasons. Okay. So sometimes, I mean, what's the shelf life here? Like Cobra Kai, what are they going to have? 15 seasons and wait for the kids to have kids and they're fighting their kids? I mean, after a while, it's a funny, cheesy show. Close it out. One more season. Just
now, here's a fun fact for you though, for Breaking Bad, because Better Call Saul ended up being an additional season over Breaking Bad, which they were supposed to make it even, not one go over, but because the demand was there. But for Breaking Bad, they figured like they didn't want to do the whole jump the shark thing, and they thought, all right, you know what? That's it. It kind of ran its course. But what ended up happening, and this was at the end of season 4. Okay. They were like, all right, you know, that's it. We're not going to do any more. I think we're good here. At the final 2 episodes that they were recording, all of the actors said, wonder what are we doing here? I mean, everybody, because let's not forget, it was almost like Napoleon Dynamite. If everybody remembers, when it hit the movie theaters, it sucked. When it went on DVD, that's where the popularity.
Classic.
Yeah. So with Breaking Bad, it was the same way too. When it first came out on AMC, there was a lot of people that didn't know about it. Yep. But when you started being able to watch the replays of season 1, season 2, it started finally by season 4. Season 1 and 2 had hit heights that they never expected. So what ended up happening was that Bryan Cranston was like, are we really going to shut this down? And basically the producer was like, listen, you guys agreed upon it. Like we've already taken away all the permitting rights, like everything, we would have to redo this all over again. If we do, it's going to take us another 2 years. And so they really had regretted of making the decision of ending the season at season 5. And that's why they had to cram so much in the final 2 episodes to basically bring it to an end, because they were going to leave a cliffhanger in case they brought it back, but that's the way they left it. But there was still that one piece of the cliffhanger, because let's not forget, when he ended up on the ground, it didn't mean that he was dead. So there could be a possibility that they would bring it back and do the kind of the flashback all over again to catch you up to present time.
I think they tied it up though with Better Call Saul, and then they had the El Camino. I think they tied it up.
Yeah, but I like El Camino.
It was all right. Some shows, you can't 3, 4 seasons. Sitcoms, it's different. You can stretch that out, for a long time. But then if it starts to get, a little goofy, it kind of loses its luster. But there have been some really, you go back and what was the other show I was watching? It was on Netflix. It was about the, and I loved it because it was based in Miami. It was about the Bitcoin startup.
Startup?
Yeah, it was called Startup. Adam Brody was in it. The guy that was in the Ron Perlman, I think he was in Sons of Anarchy.
Right.
It was really good. It was about like how the like the very beginning of Bitcoin and putting in money into startups, and it was a lot of it. The scenes were shot in Florida, in Miami. I liked it. I thought it was really good, but I binged that. But it's only a couple seasons. You can't. Some of these shows, 2, 3, 4 seasons, and you got to call it a day, man. You just can't keep repurposing or just stretching, because then it comes kind of like goofy. Like I told you, one of my all-time favorite shows was Lost, but I'll argue with people. They're like, when it got to 7, and I'm like, those were the best seasons. They're like, nah, now it just got kind of like goofy. Like I never got into The Walking Dead, but they were able to spin 26 friggin' shows out of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they did.
Right?
I like the first 2. Like I really liked the first 2 seasons. And then after a while, it's like, I get it. Like, how many times can you do a certain thing and this, that, and the other? And it's like,
I was going to get bit by a zombie.
Right. And then it's like, all right, somebody, I think it was like, Tim Barrington, who normally tunes in with the Pete Shepard show, he was talking about that, you should really watch like either season 5 or 6, how they kind of like tied it on in together. But it's like every time they go to a new town, we got an upgrade on the house, same thing. There was the boss, and he turns bad and blah, blah. It's like, all right,
and you're still being chased by flesh eating zombies. Do you watch Yellowstone?
No.
Real fantastic. Do you watch 1883 or 1923?
No. It's good?
You would like it. Yeah, 1923 was fantastic. Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, badass. 1883, I think, is better than Yellowstone. And I thought it was fantastic. It was brilliantly written. And Yellowstone's a very good show too. But yeah, you should definitely put that on your
But isn't 1883 a spinoff of Yellowstone?
They all are. It shows the Dutton family tree, like the Dutton. It traces back, right? So you have Yellowstone first, then it goes to those shows, and then you understand the family tree and the what's that called? The word's escaping me, but yes, it's all tied in to present day Yellowstone, how they came about, the Dutton Ranch, everything. And it's the guy that damn, who the hell's the who's the writer? He's fantastic. Taylor Sheridan. Fantastic writer, man. I didn't realize some of the shows that he was a writer on Sicario. So he's
really?
He also is I think he wrote or did 27 episodes of Mayor of Kingston.
That's a good one.
That's a great show.
Yep.
That's a real great show. That's a good show. I think Bunny's going to flip on the mayor. Bunny strikes me as a guy that I think down the road might have to save his ass and throw his poor Jeremy Renner under the bus.
Oh boy.
That's just my thought. All right, 10 minutes to play with. 727-858-6650, Wednesday edition. Middays with Q. Hey, don't forget, start your week off right. Pete Shepard Show, 7 to 10, Monday to Friday, followed by Angel Martinez and Company, 10 to 12, myself. Middays with Q, 12 to 2. You also have Talking Hoops. You got Jonathan Marshall Time. You got Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. Angel mentioned a couple new shows coming on board as well. So as always, download the app, SR1029 The Game. Check us out online, SR1029thegame.com, part of Coastal Sports Network and, of course, Broad Street South. And as always, we are powered by IONTB. A couple thoughts to close out on this Wednesday coming up.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Don't forget to get social with us.
Sounds like
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q.
I don't know why in the world.
Welcome back to Middays with Q. Here's Q.
Let the beat go round and round. That's what it sounded like.
Well, I don't know. I tried to play Bumper Guy. Bumper Guy didn't want to play.
Sheila E., right? No? Colt Jam?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to friggin'. This is horrible. Hold on. Tony Montana's got to reload. Hold on. Don't go anywhere.
Yes. It's what happens. Thank you guys all and ladies as well for watching us here from 7 a.m. up until 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Q will be back in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here he is.
We're sinking. What was that? A little
I think it's
Colt Jam.
Yeah. Man, so many good freaking 80s. God, man. Our time, I swear, was the best time. I swear, by far, it was the best time.
My friend will always send me like obscure 80s hip hop. Just out of nowhere on YouTube.
Who was and I even showed it to Debbie the other day. It was at 80s. Who was the three ladies?
They sang the oh my God.
Come go with me. Yeah.
Show me.
Okay. So now let us remember that obviously we don't expect them to be what we saw.
What was the song though? Oh, hold on. I got to Cover Girls.
There you go. So they were, I believe they were down somewhere kind of in the Mid-South region. And you know, because you remember, even like Stevie B, for example, Stevie B has been touring a whole lot down here in Tampa. I think they already passed, but in Tampa, they do the kind of like the throwback to the 80s stuff. These three came on stage and I really had to do like a triple take because I'm like, no freaking
freestyle, man. Freestyle music.
Yeah. Well, no, they have the tour here. We've yet to go. We've missed it now twice. One was because it was close to our wedding date, but it apparently it draws like a really good crowd because there's between here and Orlando, there's a lot of us that we were clubbers, back in the day, club days. Now, of course, it's the EDMers for electronic dance music, but some of these clubs, some of these music, or some of these artists, excuse me, some have aged well, and then you look at some, and it's going to happen. We all know this.
Mm-hmm.
Same way. Have you seen, by the way, like Casey from the Casey and the Sunshine Band as of late?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Something else.
Sheila E. looks fantastic.
Yeah, she does. She's always doing stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, she's 66. She looks phenomenal.
Yep. Still plays like she was freaking playing when she was in her 30s. We have it's bizarre here. So on the other side here of the home studio, it's been rolling thunder now for like the past maybe 20 minutes. And the funny part, it gets closer, it gets louder, and then it almost like zips by our house and just goes over to the other development.
See, I was going to, because I'm a movie geek, I was going to, when you said Rolling Thunder, I thought maybe you were talking about the 1979 or 77 movie with William Devane, Rolling Thunder.
That's almost like Roller Boogie, if you remember back in the day.
Boogie Nights.
No.
Not Roller Boogie.
Yeah.
Rolling Thunder, man. Tommy Lee Jones was in that movie.
Yeah, but you don't remember Roller Boogie? What's her name from?
No, I know Roller Boogie. I also know Disco Duck.
Yo, there's one to pull out.
Yeah.
Disco Duck.
So Roller Boogie, I think that's Linda Blair was in there, right? The chick's head that went, like.
Yeah, and The Exorcist.
Yeah, there you go. Remember Solid Gold?
That was a good one.
How about Dance Fever?
That's another good one.
You're a kid with the popcorn. You got to stay up late on a Saturday till 8:30 at night.
Yep. That was a good one. Well, it's just, if everybody remembers, WPHL 17 in Philadelphia when you had Dancing on Air.
Correct.
That's where, what's her name? Jesus, what's Regis and what was her freaking
Kelly Ripa.
Yeah. That's where her first kind of like TV so-called appearance was there at dance. She used to dance every afternoon out there in Philly when it was, Monday through Friday when it was live, even before she got on TV. If you look at her then, that's when she had a little more, I guess, Me Tour. I don't know how to describe it, density, whatever.
Sure.
But of course, now she's
kind of
ultra skinny.
Kind of like how Courtney Cox was in Bruce Springsteen's video.
Which one?
What was it? 1984. What was it? Dancing in the Dark.
Oh, really?
You don't know that?
No.
It's a girl dancing on stage.
I had not a freaking clue.
Wow. That's a poor way to close the show. Well, you know what? You learn something new.
You do.
Every day. And with that, as we start to put a bow on a Wednesday. Hey, by the way, tomorrow, Logan Holler, a really good female fighter for TCL, pro fighter, is going to join us. Jovan Alford on Friday shows. I mentioned good stuff from Corey Parson. Give everyone a follow on social media. Do not forget to follow us at CSN Florida. You got Pete tomorrow, 7 to 10. You'll wake up with him. Pete Shepard Show does a fantastic job. 3 hours of just nonstop entertaining sports talk, Angel in-depth analysis and great opinions, always entertaining with Martinez and Company 10 to 12. You have to give all of us respectively a follow. And to do that, just go to CSN Florida at CSN Florida Coastal Sports Network. You'll see we're growing on our X and Facebook channels as well. And of course, you'll catch me tomorrow, 12 to 2, Middays with Q. We always want to encourage you guys. Share, like, comment, keep them coming in as well. 727-858-6650. But please download the app, Sports Radio 1029 FM The Game. You can check us out online, sr1029thegame.com, part of Coastal Sports Network. And we are certainly powered by IONTB for all your updated traffic, weather, police blotter, accidents, your jams. Check them out again, IONTB. So with that being said, everyone have a wonderful Sports Wednesday, and always a special thanks, Angel Martinez, keeping us on the air, producing the show behind the glass. I am Rich Quinones. Enjoy your Sports Wednesday. Have a good rest of the day. We'll be back in the saddle tomorrow from 12 to 2 with Middays with Q. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.